What is 3D? That's a very good and important question. I'm really glad you asked that. Now, before I can actually go on to answer that question, we really need to look at what 1D is. On the screen here, you can see we have a line, and it's a little straight line. And there's a measurement of length. And here we have a curvy line. Now, it looks a bit like a cat to me. You can imagine drawing a pair of eyes on there, a nose and a smile. You'd have a pretty good cat. But the line on its own still is only a line. It's a bendy line, but it still has one measurement, and that's the measurement of length. And here we have a curly wurly, helter-skelter kind of line. It's a lovely bendy, swervy line, but it only has one dimension. It still only has length. And because it only has a measurement of length, it's considered to be one-dimensional. So, what are 2D objects? Here we have a square. And if you can imagine this square hanging on a wall as a painting, you'll see it has a measurement of height and it has a measurement of width. Or, if it's a sheet of paper laying on your desk, you might say it has a measurement of length and a measurement of width rather than height. Now you can have height and length and height and width and height and all the other variations of those two phrases. As long as you've got both of them, they are considered to be two-dimensional because it's two measurements that you can take. Because we have two-dimensional objects, we have something called a surface now. And because you have a surface, you have a surface area. Now I've only shown a square here, but there's all sorts of other shapes as you'll see shortly. The scientists and mathematicians and engineers and all sorts of other technical trades don't use sides, as we call them. They use a word called axes. So instead of having height and width, for example, they have x and y axes. You see axes as a plural with an e. Axis, as you can see here, so with the x-axis and the y-axis with an I. And here are a few more 2D shapes, a circle, a pentagon, etc. So now we understand what 1D is and what 2D is, we can now look at what 3D is. On the screen here you can see a box. It's actually out of Minecraft. You see its front, top and sides, which other things didn't have. The 2 and 1D objects didn't have a top, the front and sides. And we might have length at the front and width going down the side and height. Although length and width could be swapped around, you could argue. Now if we look here, engineers and other technical people might say we have an x-axis and a y-axis and a z-axis. And when you do further science and mathematics in school, you'll see that we will use x and y-axis when you start drawing graphs. And here are a few more 3D objects. These I've actually taken out of Tinkercad, just to give an example of the kind of objects that we can use. And unlike 1D objects and 2D objects, you can almost feel like you can actually reach through the screen and pick these things up. So that's the important distinction between 1D, 2D and 3D objects. 3D objects are like real world objects that you can touch. So now we've established what 3D objects are, let's have a bit of fun in Tinkercad.